He's been a chronic disappointment, and I feel embarrassed that I told people to go vote for him because this wasn't going to happen, and it is happening.
We're turning our attention now to a major feud that put an end to Candace Owens' platform on the Daily Wire.
So, I mean, the truth is that Candace and I were never, particularly close.
She was officially featured on Iranian television as an example of what it looks like to support your homeland.
On X, Candace Owens compared Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to Adolf Hitler.
And just like that, ladies and gentlemen, we are back. All right, we got to talk about it. We got to talk about Candace. She's been polarizing for years. She started out as a leftist and became right-leaning, then became ultra-right. Now she's doing something else, and I don't really know what's going on. The thing is, I think she's going to torpedo any form or semblance of a platform or support that she could have. And I think this is going to probably be the worst example of what she's done to her own self. So let's go check it out. Let's go together.
Done with Donald Trump, or could you see a way that you would end up perhaps voting for him? Oh, you can't run again, obviously, but would you support him publicly again?
So I want to be clear. I don't regret voting for Donald Trump above Kamala. I think he was the better candidate, certainly a better candidate above Joe Biden. But what I will say is that he's been a chronic disappointment, and I feel embarrassed that I told people to go vote for him because this wasn't going to happen, and it is happening. But I just think that the picture of politics in America is going to look very differently because of his actions. So
we're turning our attention now to a major feud that put an end to Candace Owens' platform on the Daily Wire. The conservative commentator is out after an ongoing beef with her boss, Ben Shapiro, over the Israel-Hamas war. Candace Owens confirming the news. The rumors are true. I'm finally free.
It's not that I'm saying things that they don't like. It's that I'm refusing to allow my voice to be controlled.
In her last segment, which premiered Tuesday, Candace Owens made it clear why she felt she was being ostracized.
That if you do not step out and say things that are radically pro-Israel, or if you are too quiet on certain narratives and they want you to be radically pro-Israel, you can lose everything.
In the past, Ben Shapiro had come to the defense of Owens and her rhetoric. He's the Jewish co-founder of the news site Daily Wire, aka Candace's boss. Well, that friendship all changed following the October 7th Hamas-led attack on Israel. It quickly turned into a very public battle between the two.
It makes me cry when I see the footage all over Twitter of Palestinian children that are being bombed into oblivion. When I see they're missing parts of their body. And this implicit threat, don't say it's sad. You're not allowed to say it is sad.
Owens has been one of the few far-right pundits who has been openly critical of Israel's handling of the war in Gaza. Critics of Owens say that she has spread anti-Semitism.
Yes. Okay, so I just want to allow that to breathe out. Here's my stance on the issue. Sure, there's a lot of atrocities that transpire around the world, and they're horrible. They're deplorable. They are a slap in the face to our Creator. There are image bearers and those who need the gospel that are not getting it because of these atrocities. There's no argument for me whatsoever. But I rarely hear people with the same level of passion and vitriol for atrocities that are happening right here in their own soil. Candace Owens is a Black woman. And to the fact that she's so concerned about children 9 time zones away, but she has nothing to say about little Black babies and little brown babies and little white babies that are deleted in their mother's wombs here in the United States. Ma'am, I really don't understand where all this heat is coming from. And I could be a one-trick pony, but my goodness, in the morning, can we expect to do better when we can't even protect the very smallest, most defenseless of us? I mean, really. I'm not saying that we don't care about what's going on 9 time zones away, but 9 blocks away, there are children being destroyed on a regular basis, Candace. Where is that passion? Where is that passion for anybody else? Ben, all of y'all, where is it? I understand. I'm not saying you can't be concerned about it, but you're not concerned about what Planned Parenthood is doing, especially and particularly and directly to Black people. But you want me to lose sleep over that. It just doesn't work like that. It just doesn't. And I see so many people getting amped up and revved up about something going on in another country that they've never been to. They can't find it on the map, but they have nothing to say about what's going on in their own cities, their own towns, their own neighborhoods. Doggone it, your own HOA. Where is that? And it's disgusting. So to watch her spiral into what we're going to probably see is probably the end of Candace's influence in society. I mean, some people are probably clapping about that, but the end of Candace's influence and the end of Candace's voice. Because at one point I did agree that Candace had a very solid voice on very key issues. Now I have nothing to say. I have no quarter for it at all. So that's where I land with this. And I just think that this argumentation and this, hey, you're not saying enough about what's going on in this country. I can't find it on the map. I really can't. I really can't find it on the map. Therefore, I'm not going to put myself out there and make a whole bunch of noise about something I don't know where it is on the map. I really don't. No, I can't. I just can't. Because y'all looking over homeless vets. Y'all looking over crack addicts. Y'all looking over single moms. And of course, children being deleted in a mother's womb. All to be worried about a place that you don't even know where it is on the map. Let's go.
The question was about Candace Owens. I think her behavior during this is disgraceful. Without a doubt, I think
The video speaks more to Ben's character than it speaks to mine.
Has he texted you to apologize or explain or anything?
No, nothing. I haven't heard a single word. It just was sort of something that he said.
But it got nastier to the point where Shapiro dared the star podcaster to quit.
Candace, if you feel that taking money from a Daily Wire somehow comes between you and God, by all means quit. I wrote in response, you have been acting unprofessional and emotionally unhinged for weeks now, and we have all had to sit back and allow it and have all tried to exercise exceeding understanding for your raw emotion.
Leading us to today, the company's CEO taking to X, writing Daily Wire and Candace Owens have ended their relationship. No further explanation was provided.
Genuinely, I was sad when a bunch of innocent Israelis were murdered and killed in horrific acts. And genuinely, I am sad when a bunch of innocent Palestinians, and yes, they do exist, Brian Mast, are now being made to endure bombing and all sorts of other horrific things that we are all seeing on Twitter. That is my crime. Everybody can see that. It's ridiculous to pretend that it's anything else.
Daily Wire's decision to end its relationship with Owens was a surprise to many. There was shock that the man who has voiced his concerns with cancel culture in the past,
Like, I know conservatives are not interested in canceling other conservatives, and they're not going to go along with this,
has put an end to a fellow right-wing voice online.
And I can understand that. I do think that that's a little bit foul. But again, the issues, I don't think the issues need to be divided, issues that we divide over. I just don't. I'm not going to divide over those issues. Now, somebody's going to come and tell me that and try to make a case for it. That's fine. Make the case for it. Let me know why I should divide over this issue, why I should divide over somebody I share ideological commonality, with 85, 90% of the other topics. But this right here should be the one to divide it all. Let me know. I don't know. Down in the comments, let me know why I should divide over this topic and not over other topics or other key areas that I've already expressed that I think are far more important, because we don't have a moral high ground as a country to say that's bad that they're doing that to those children over there 9 time zones away when we're doing the exact same thing in spades here. We don't have a moral high ground. We don't have a place to look. That's why it's so contentious, because we don't actually have the higher moral standard. We're just as debased as they are. They're just debased in another way. That's all. That's only difference. And I bet you if we're honest about it, there's probably more little brown faces and little black faces being deleted in our inner cities than are being taken out by Israel and Hamas. But we're not concerned about that. Let's go.
I just wanted to know, do you miss your relationship with Candace Owens as like a friend?
I mean, the truth is that Candace and I were never, particularly close. I thought we had a pretty cordial relationship, but I don't think that Fox or CNN or we would be wrong in doing that. If somebody on Fox showed up and was like, okay, I'm a conservative, and Fox, a conservative news network, and then tomorrow they're like, I was lying, I'm a Trotskyite. Would Fox be wrong in firing that person? I don't think so. If CNN, which is a left-leaning news network, it's a little different than CNN. They purport to be objective. We don't purport to be anything but conservative. We're conservative. If you show up and I hire you, and Jeremy hires you, and Caleb, we all hire you, and you say, I'm a pro-life person, and then the next day you come out and you say, abortion up till point of birth is a moral virtue. Do I have a moral obligation to continue paying you to be on the platform? I think absolutely not. Now, does that mean you should be quote unquote silenced? No, I mean, it's just, we're signing a check. For that check, you are paid to, provide the viewpoint that you are going to provide within limits that we are happy subsidizing. Right? But I'm not going to pay for somebody to, and neither will our company, is not going to pay for somebody to come on the air on Daily Wire and spend an entire episode talking about the great virtues of late-term abortion.
Now, after she left Daily Wire, she went even further down the World War II rabbit hole. She discussed why history's demonization of Adolf Hitler ought to be reconsidered.
Okay, so this is definitely, unequivocally, why I think Candace Owens' voice is going to just, we are going to probably not hear Candace anymore, because she's going the route of Kanye West and other conspiracy theorists. There's no, and I've talked about this a lot, this idea that we need to go back and reimagine history and reclaim history and say the person that was the failed art student of Germany really wasn't that bad a person is crazy work. That's crazy work. That's not going to change. And that's the reason why I think it's interesting that these people LARP on this, because it's not going to change. What the failed art student of Germany did is still going to be what the failed art student of Germany did. So it doesn't matter if I imagine the failed art student as being better than he was. He's still a horrible person, and he still did exactly what he did. So I don't know why people even waste their time trying to go back and reimagine historical characters and figures and events differently than they really were, when there's things that you could be doing today to make changes today, to do something different today. Moving forward, you can change the path and trajectory of an entire community or society or culture today, instead of trying to look back and reimagine and say, oh, well, maybe that person really wasn't that bad, or that person really was misunderstood. That's so stupid. And she's going to lose a lot of support because of that. It's just dumb. There's no reason for it. It's ignorant. And I'm going to say it.
And she even had a YouTube show called Literally Hitler, Why Can't We Talk About Him? And then she's also disregarded claims by an SS physician known as the Angel of Death, who admitted that there were these grim experiments conducted on Jewish inmates at concentration camps. She's also referenced the fact that ethnic cleansing almost took place during the Holocaust. And so all these examples in recent weeks have culminated in Owens' own father-in-law, Lord Farmer, distancing himself from her remarks. And he's not the only one. We've seen former allies of Owens break cover. So we've got behavioral scientist Gad Saad, we've had Ian Miles Chong, and even the Babylon Bee have basically come for her over these anti-Semitic remarks and attacks.
Candace Owens has officially reached a new milestone in her career. I don't think she would have ever guessed back in 2018, when she still had 2 brain cells to rub together, that one day she would wake up and she would find herself being in support of a regime that is the backing of some of the most terroristic organizations on the planet, including Hezbollah, Hamas, and the likes. Now, not only has Candace switched up her tune when it comes to her support of basically anything that actually aligns with her so-called Christian values, but she was officially featured on Iranian television as an example of what it looks like to support your homeland, or at least your alleged sugar daddy over there in Iran. Now, this right here is the exact news segment where Candace Qatari money, dollar signs, in my eyes was featured on Iranian television right there. You can go watch the actual segment for itself, but I really just wanted to get into the context of the message. The most predictable war, plausibly ever. I'm so sick of Israel. Who would have imagined that an emphasis on Israel, as those who pretend its actions are normal or even remotely justifiable. This country has a bloodlust like no other. Have an issue with this tweet? I literally do not care. Think defending Israel's demonic actions. It's interesting. You refer to demons, because I would assume That's where you went. That's where you are. That's what happened to you, possibly. Just an assumption here. I literally do not care. I think that defending Israel's demonic actions is going to guarantee you a spot in heaven, ? I would be questioning myself, by the way, if I were Qatari dollars, Owens. Double your indulgences and sign your offspring up to die for Netanyahu. Leave the rest of us the hell alone.
So Candace Owens is offering $10K in cash to whoever finds evidence that people are paying small creators to make bad videos about her. Candace, nobody's getting paid here. This is the result of people who live in an echo chamber. Candace has always been, a person that got so much support because she did do some valid reporting, like, exposing the Black Lives Matter leader. The
Great
same
job.
way you held others accountable, Candace, you should hold accountability for yourself. What a scum!
On X, Candace Owens compared Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to Adolf Hitler, specifically responding to a comment that said, quote, Benjamin Netanyahu is everything the media wanted you to believe Vladimir Putin is. She said, feels a bit more like everything high school wanted me to believe Adolf Hitler was.
Raj, as I've shared with others, the kind of things that Candace is saying and has been saying now for several years, for those who've been following, they know it's not new. It's not just that it's heinous. It's not that they're lies and all those things, which they are, but she cloaks it in Christianity. That is the thing that for us as believers, we need to just be aware of, right? We need to be aware of that it's not just coming against Israel, but she's doing it both as a Christian and at other Christians. Raj, she's talking to you. She's talking to me. She's talking to other Christian pastors or community leaders and saying, not only are we wrong in terms of our biblical stance and, blessing those who bless you, curse those who curse you, as the word of God says, but here's evidence. Netanyahu is Hitler. The Israelis are committing genocide. All these other lies, the same lies that spew forth out of Hamas and Qatar, the other Israel haters. This is what we need to be aware of. She's attempting to do it biblically.
In 2021, Candace Owens was celebrated by Christians for...
Let me stop there for a second. Candace Owens is not making a biblical argument. Nobody's believing, well, you shouldn't at least believe that Candace is making an argument from the scriptures. Candace is making an argument and she's veneering it, or it's an argument. It's a hateful argument in drag. Candace's arguments are in drag and they're pretending and they self-identify as a Christian argument, but they're not. They're not even remotely in the ballpark, in the stratosphere of a Christian argument. And so therefore, kind of like a guy dressing up as a chick, he's not a guy. He's not a chick. He's a guy. And that being the case, same thing with Candace. So let's get done with this. Shout out. Thank you so much for liking the video, by the way. I do appreciate it. When you do like these videos, it pushes the video out and more people hear about it. Also share it, as well as comment down below. Appreciate y'all.
boldly standing up against secular ideologies and defending what many saw as core Christian values. But her recent loyalty to figures like Andrew Tate, Kanye West, and her involvement in anti-Semitic conspiracy theories have left many Christians feeling uneasy, even betrayed. Just a few months ago, Candace tweeted, "Ban pornography. It's a psychological weapon intended to weaken our men." She followed up by saying that it was created by the most deprived people among us and that we should stigmatize every person who defends or profits from it. Now, most Christians supported this sentiment, believing that she was standing for Christian values that promote family and well-being. She even tweeted that the men who struggle with pornography are the intended victims, but this is where things get complicated. You see, her stance made it all the more confusing when she defended and protected someone like Andrew Tate, who, right before his arrest, was bragging about exploiting men with porn, saying,
"Chicks would sit there and hit a keyboard that wasn't plugged in, and me and my brother, and eventually some staff I trained, would do all the talking. We were taking their money, all of it. I had these guys selling their houses, life savings, loans, all of it to me. Give me it all." You'd have a guy.
Feel bad or no?
No, give a solitary.
So it's ironic that she condemned porn as a weapon to weaken others, yet Tate bragged about doing exactly that just months before his arrest. She said that those who profit off of it should be stigmatized, yet right before the pandemic, Tate tweeted, "I make corn. I made so much corn that I made millions. You consume corn. I am God. You are an effing loser. But we knew that already. Learn how to make money by making corn here. But she never stigmatized Tate for it. And all of this is weird because even in her most recent interview of Tate, she talked to him about how bad she thinks that corn is. But this is the same guy who only a few years ago bragged about getting men addicted to corn in order to control them, tweeting, "I super hope the corn addiction gets out of control and ruins everyone's lives. I hope everyone suffers, and I don't want to help anyone break free at all. Keep watching Cowgirls. I want more money." And if you're doubting that this was his Twitter account, he confirmed it in multiple other clips online as well. So now keep in mind that this is the same guy who recorded himself during the COVID lockdowns saying that he was still running a webcam business. Another thing that Tate said in that tweet was that he was God, which is another thing that Candace claims to hate. She claims to hate blasphemy, and Christians have applauded her for defending Christian values by taking a stance against it. Earlier this year, she even posted a video condemning the rapper Lil Nas X for
That is mocking Jesus Christ, and it's obviously meant to be blasphemous.
But not even a month later, she endorsed Kanye's Vultures album, where Kanye says, "I'm the new Jesus," explicit. And this wasn't just art either. Following the release of his album, Kanye said multiple times that he's God. So if Candace was outraged by Lil Nas X for dressing up on a cross and she considered it to be blasphemy, then this old picture of Kanye and him saying that he's the new Jesus should also be considered blasphemy. And just to be clear, given that she's friends with Kanye, I don't expect her to personally attack him, but there's also no need to go out of the way to promote this album if blasphemy really does bother her so much. So her influence carries a lot of responsibility, making it crucial for her to remain steadfast in the Christian value of not bearing false witness. If you've been following her content lately, you can't help but notice that she seems to trace every world problem back to the Jews in some way. But the only problem is she consistently gets her facts wrong. So much so that even Nick Fuentes, who's known as the most prolific anti-Semite of our generation, he even had to call her out for how much she gets wrong.
And she's calling them the Bolshevists, and she says that, you know, she gets all the details wrong about that. And then she says Stalin was Jewish. Stalin was not Jewish. And then she says Ataturk was secretly Jewish. Ataturk was not secretly Jewish. And then, but I didn't say anything. I said, whatever.
And I say whatever as well. Candace Owens is going to ruin, dare I say, she's torpedoing her own voice, her own platform, her own ability to be an influence in society. She's torpedoing it in 4K. We're all watching it. We all have an opportunity to see it. And I think this is it's probably flooded the second and third decks, and it's going to get worse. It's not going to get any better. She's going to go into the silent place like Kanye, where nobody even talks about him anymore. He's just, they've already kind of put him off and nobody's even listening to him. And that's going to be what happens to Candace. I want to know what you think, though. Down in the comments below, let me know. What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts about Candace Owens and her shifts and her changes and her moves? Do you think she can move herself back? Do you think I'm right? Do you think I'm wrong? Let me know in the comments down below. I appreciate you all rocking with us. And until next time, everybody, grace and peace.